I've got in studio this morning 3 gentlemen, all here to discuss, well, the state of Kenya and what really divides us, which puts quite a spotlight on us, doesn't it? In studio, Charlie Taylor, who's the senior producer of the BBC World Service. Good morning.
Good morning.
First, want to start off with you, Charlie, and ask you this. This is part of a series that has been ongoing and that you've shot in different capitals around the world, in different cities in the world, isn't it? What brought about the idea of hosting this global debate?
Well, it's a fairly unique format that we do in the UK, which we've done actually for nearly 70 years. It basically puts the audience first. So it's leading politicians, leading thinkers, and they debate questions put by an audience. And everyone who comes writes their question, and we choose some good, strong, representative questions, and the political leaders, wherever we are, have to debate that question. So this is something we've done around the UK for a long time. So taking it worldwide took a long time to get there, but now we're there. We find it's incredibly powerful, really exciting format, and we're really thrilled to be here in Kenya.
What has been its huge and very critical success in the UK that you're beginning to see in these other cities that you have taken it to?
Well, I think in the UK, it's about empowering the audience, as we said, and it's also about reflecting the events that have happened in that political week. Now, there have been a lot of events in the political week in Kenya.
There have been many political weeks in Kenya.
Yeah, but we're here this one time. I mean, we hope you'll come back. We're here this one time. So it's about focusing more on the state of the nation and us finding out from Kenyans what the questions are that really mean the most to them, and seeing where that debate takes us.
Are you beginning to see any common trends between the questions, but also the answers and the issues that pop up?
Well, there are common trends that you see around the world. There are, perhaps people are less likely to be deferential now. People are more likely to challenge the status quo. There's frustration that we find in a lot of places in the world, but and that can be a good thing or a bad thing, but it's definitely something we see. But countries also have their specificity, their things which define them, and you see that in the character of the audience and how they react. So some audiences are very vocal, and some actually want to sit back and listen. So we get different levels of engagement, and of course in some parts of the world doing a democratic debate is a rare thing. Not so in Kenya, where there's a strong, proud democracy, but a few months ago we were in Hong Kong, and putting a debate on in Hong Kong was an exciting and challenging thing, and hugely appreciated, and we hope it'll be appreciated today, but I think it'll be very different from Hong Kong.
Tony, Country Director, British Council here in Kenya, Tony Riley. And welcome back again, of course, to studio. But there, having been here, of course, during what has been a very long year of elections A, elections B, as we're now calling them, and depending on what the Supreme Court says, election C. There has been a lot of, may I say, feedback and reaction towards observers, towards international observers, towards what democracy means, and towards how we engage with our partners to ensure that we have a vibrant, strong democracy and economy. How do talks like these, debates like these, hosted on a platform such as yours, in collaboration, of course, with the University of Nairobi, help to foster the kind of positive relations that perhaps we're looking to create and cement in this country?
Very good question. I mean, we're delighted to be working with the BBC on this series of World Questions. I mean, it's a great partnership for us. We've both got to sort of a similar trusted brand around the world, and it's been really good to work together in putting on this series. It's a very good question. As you remember, Renee, last time I was in the studio was with some Kenyan future leaders who were about to go to the UK. They've been now and come back. While they were there, they met Madiba's elders, Kofi Annan, Gracia Michel, Ban Ki-moon, and they had an engagement with them. And they were reminded of I think it was Kofi Annan quoted Mary Robinson, the former UN High Commissioner for Refugees, for Human Rights, that peace building is very much about courageous conversations, and creating a space for those conversations to take place. And I think that's what this is about, and that's what this series is about. It's about, as Charlie said, it's an audience-led debate about the issues that matter to people in the country where that debate is taking place. But it's about creating a safe space for those conversations and having some brilliant chairs of those debates to make sure that they flow, to make sure then that those views are shared through the BBC's platform with more than 4 million listeners who will tune in next weekend to BBC World Questions happening in Nairobi.
Q on right there, moderator, facilitator, and I think media personality extraordinaire, Jonathan Dimbleby. You're in Kenya. I take it this is not your first time in Kenya, is it?
Not my first time, Rennie.
On the global questions. The question you picked, the question of the great divide amongst Kenyans. Is there really such a perceived divide when you look at Kenya from the outside?
It's from the outside, the answer's unquestionably yes. People, and that's partly because the media focuses on intense drama. And one of my personal concerns for a long time, as someone who's reported drama, disaster, catastrophe, outrage, corruption, you name it, around the world, and specifically in Africa, is that we've often missed the plot about what is really happening and getting below the surface. So from outside, yes, it's seen as a big political drama, and people remember back to the, not very long ago, 10 years ago, terrible violence. I was here soon afterwards, not as it happens to cover that violence, but witnessed the aftermath of that. So yes, people look at Kenya as a very important African country. From whether it's in the European Union or in the United Kingdom, Kenya matters, and people look on with concern because Kenya is a leading country. When you look at over the long term, as I'm fortunate enough to be able to do, I've seen emergence and growth of democratic institutions across the continent, very diverse countries in the continent, much greater freedom. We are having an easy conversation. I could say what I like here on this channel with you. In large parts of this continent, when I first came here, you could not do that conceivably. So there's a much greater openness of communication, and that is extremely healthy. But the capacity for the democratic principles of communication, which are based on the consent of people for differing views, the capacity to accept defeat and victory, the ability of a society to construct an electoral and political system which is respected by all, is a long-term major challenge. If it goes wrong, things can become very nasty. So yes, long-winded answer to your question, but that's essentially it.